New minimum wage poll to talk to all you about. 8 in 10 Americans think the federal minimum wage is too low, and 2/3 support increasing it to $15 per hour. A comprehensive new poll from Amazon and Ipsos shows. That's fascinating. So Amazon commissioned a poll, and they found that $15 minimum wage and raising the minimum wage is extremely popular. Now, why? Why did they commission a poll on this? My guess is they're already paying $15 an hour minimum wage to their, 350,000 employees. So my guess is the reason why they did this is because since they're already paying it, they want to show it's really popular. They want to get it implemented because then that forces smaller businesses to pay the $15 minimum wage. And some of those smaller businesses can't afford it as much and they might go out of business and give Amazon even more business. So don't get it twisted. It's very likely nefarious motives on Amazon's part as to why they would do this. But, and here's the important part, guys, there are ways around that don't involve scrapping a minimum wage increase. You could still have a $15 minimum wage, and you can give smaller businesses that might have trouble affording it some sort of tax credit, some sort of subsidy, have a program that ameliorates the issues surrounding it for smaller businesses. So I get that their reasoning is nefarious, but we can take care of whatever other problems would arise from a $15 minimum wage without totally scrapping the idea of a $15 minimum wage. But it is kind of hilarious, isn't it, that Amazon, previously, they didn't even pay $15 an hour, and now they're commissioning polls that are like, pay everybody $15 an hour, make the minimum wage $15 an hour. I don't know if you guys remember this backstory, but the reason why Amazon went to $15 an hour is because Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders introduced a piece of legislation called the Stop Bezos Act. And Jeff Bezos saw this, and he felt political pressure, and so he was compelled to act. But he was afraid it would start getting bipartisan support because the way it was framed was brilliant. It was almost like, I don't remember all the details, but there was a part of the bill that was highlighting the fact that if you raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, then the size of the social safety net will shrink massively because a lot of full-time minimum wage workers need to go to the government to make ends meet, and so they need the social safety net, and so that means bigger government. We could shrink the size of government if we pay a $15 minimum wage. And so I think Bezos feared that it would get some Republican support because of the framing. Now, what he doesn't know is that Republicans are so insanely corrupt and corporatist that they wouldn't bat an eyelash, and none of them would have been in favor of it. But he was afraid that this thing would take off, and he was getting negative press as a result of this Stop Bezos Act. And so he was like, fine, I'll pay 15, I'll pay 15. So credit to Bernie Sanders and credit to Ro Khanna on that front. That's important. Apparently, Amazon has done a horrible job when it comes to protecting workers in the COVID era. So there's other colossal issues that they have and haven't been dealt with effectively yet. But it's good they pay 15. Of course, we should pass $15 an hour across the board. And listen, this gets back to the conversation about strategy. There was one poll, I think it was 2019 poll on $15 minimum wage. 67% of the country said they want a $15 minimum wage. Some polls have it about half of Republicans, maybe a little over, that support a $15 minimum wage. So it is bipartisan among the people. It's not bipartisan among the politicians. So what can and should Biden do on this front? The answer is simple. Number one, you have to reform the filibuster, make them actually talk. If they want to filibuster raising the minimum wage, by all means, go right ahead. That's the biggest political killer they could ever do. They're shooting themselves in the dick for the upcoming elections. So go right ahead. I dare you to filibuster raising the minimum wage. So reform the filibuster, make it so they actually have to talk to block stuff. And then beyond that, carrot or stick approach with Sinema and Manchin and the 8, Democrats who came out against $15 minimum wage. You tell them, I'll be your best friend or I'll be your best enemy. It's on you. But if you cross me on this, there's going to be consequences and your career is going to be done. I'm going to make sure of it. I'm going to do everything I can in my power to fund a primary opponent against you and to take you down. And I don't know if you noticed, but I still have a 60% approval rating and nobody even knows who you are. So there's that. But again, that requires effort. That requires really wanting $15 minimum wage and being willing to go to the mat for it. I don't think Biden and Kamala really believe in it. So I don't think we're going to get it. But, what might happen is this. They might reform the filibuster to get to the talking filibuster. That'd be a good thing. But then they'll still probably negotiate down the minimum wage increase to $12 or probably even $10 an hour, and then they'll pass that and declare victory, even though that would still not be a living wage. So you're raising the minimum wage from not a living wage to not a living wage. And that would be incredibly infuriating because they'll also probably tie it to inflation or minimum wage increases so that you have automatic raises with it, but the automatic raises will never get you to a living wage. So it will be a giant scam, and the corporations would be happiest under that scenario.